The Chicago Bears offense is in a free fall, and now Brian Flores and his crazy units coming to town. Will Chicago be able to handle it? Welcome to Crossover Thursday on the Locked On NFL Network.
You are Locked On NFL Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome into this Crossover Thursday edition of Locked On Bears and Locked On Vikings. My name is Lorin Cox. I'm the host of Locked On Bears, and we're here with Luke Braun, the host of Locked On Vikings here on the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Bears or Locked On Vikings your first listen today, and hopefully every single day. Our Crossover Thursday podcast is presented by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app and use our promo code LOCKEDONNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. On our show today, we're going to go through some of the biggest storylines for each team. A lot of drama in Chicago right now, desperate for a win, whereas the Vikings, some people debate, are pretenders, contenders. Are they as good as their record suggests? Well, they're winning again, so maybe we'll kind of get into where both teams land coming into this matchup. But Luke, with the Vikings coming to Chicago on the road, I want to start with them. They were the hottest team in football to start the season. Everyone was like, wow, Kevin O'Connell's got Sam Darnold playing great. They lose a couple games against the Lions and the lowly Los Angeles Rams, and all of a sudden, they were pretenders all along, but now they've won 3 in a row and are looking good again. So are they actually good? Have they been good all along, or are they frauds in there hiding behind playing some bad opponents?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd call the Rams lowly either. Now that they're healthy again, right? But if you wanted to draw it out, where they had this hot start, and then the Lions got them, and then the Rams got them, and then they played 3 crappy AFC South teams. Ooh, that's super. Okay, you can draw that out, but a lot of people want to look at the Vikings the same way they looked at the 2022 Vikings, because a similar thing just happened. They had a really good record. They weren't as good at that as that record. They were a one and done in the playoffs, and go, oh, look, a thing that happened before is happening again, because that's what our lizard brains want to do. But they, like, if you look statistically, they check out like a lot more by all the like EPA metrics and stuff. Like have been their defense arguably the best in the league. Arguably, there's teams like Denver and stuff that are up there. I think Chicago has been up there at times too. Offensively, though, it's been good but inconsistent. It's been a bit of a week-to-week proposition. Some days you really have the run game, some days you don't. Some days you have great Sam Darnold. Sometimes Sam Darnold tries to throw 5 picks in a game. And if you get all those pieces to put together at the same time, it's a juggernaut, but obviously you're not getting that every week. And so it becomes a little bit more of a week-to-week proposition, but like you always have something. There hasn't been quite yet the bottom falling out. The 2 losses they've taken, they were in those till the end. And a lot of their wins have not been games, by the middle of the third quarter, it was over. And, you've got teams going on for it on 4th downs they would never go for it on, and like starting to warp things.
Since you mentioned Sam Darnold in there, I wanted to get into some of his, I don't even know if inconsistency is the right word, because first 7 weeks of the season, he only throws 5 interceptions. He's putting up a bunch of touchdowns. Kevin O'Connell has fixed Sam Darnold. And then against the Jaguars and Colts combined, he throws 5 interceptions in those games. And it's like, oh, wait a minute. Did Sam Darnold turn back into a pumpkin? But then he takes care of football again. Like, how much inconsistency has there been? Or has it just been kind of more like he got lucky for a few weeks there and then gave up some interceptions that he had been sort of due to give up? And that's just
a little.
Right
like
now.
Turnovers are an unstable thing, right? Like we know that they're an unstable stat. They don't follow week to week. You get 2 weeks, 2 turnovers 1 week. That doesn't mean you're getting two turnovers the next. And this has been such a great example of why that is, because Darnold I'll tell you right now, you can set your watch by it. You're getting a couple. Okay. This team will turn the ball over. They still have not figured out that bugaboo from 2023. And a lot of it is Sam Darnold being reckless with the football. He will try to turn it over a bunch, but sometimes they drop the pick. Sometimes, a high pass that's very interceptable gets tipped just not quite the right way. And sometimes it does get tipped the right way. There is a high volume of turnover opportunities. And yeah, sometimes they've gotten lucky and sometimes they haven't gotten lucky. And that has sort of done this. But the Sam Darnold thing has been, 27 of 30 dropbacks are awesome. They've been really fantastic quarterbacking for 27 of 30 of them, but it's always good, but turnovers. You can't just say good. You have to say good, but turnovers. But they'll move the ball. They've found a formula that can move the ball against a bunch of different styles of defense. That blitzing Sam Darnold has actually been catastrophic for defenses. He's been like one of the best quarterbacks against the blitz in particular. There's all kinds of stuff to like, and it's just that there is this turnover thing that makes it so, that is essentially put down any of the talk of like, oh, but what about extending him and buying into more years of this? Too many turnovers for that. But at like week to week, it's great, but turnovers.
That's interesting because it's such like the quarterback version of what this Bears defense has been all season, where it's like, the teams have been moving the ball on them with some success all year, but it's the 2 or 3 turnovers they've been able to generate in most games that it doesn't really matter. Yards and the completion percentage all you want, but if you can't finish those drives with points because you're turning the ball over a couple times, like that's a winning defensive formula for the Bears. So I don't know if that means that's exactly how it's going to go against the Vikings, or if there's going to be some sort of weird like both perfectly into each other.
Like a double negative.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's either gonna be one side completely breaks because the other quarterback or the other side is trying to fit in exactly what they normally are used to.
Yeah, I'll tell you, like every single Vikings game, you will get opportunities. I'll put it that way. You are like they are good for 3 or 4 opportunities to get the ball. You got to get the bounce. You have to be opportunistic. You have to, actually make good on those, recover the fumble, whatever it is. But like you will get those opportunities, and like even it's funny because the 2 games they lost, they actually were a little bit better about protecting the football, but. The thing is, they have been so successful down to down, like in terms of just call it like success rate. There's this big deviation between their success rate and their EPA because turnovers are these big EPA things. They're about average in EPA. They're elite in success rate. So they really are good. 27 out of 30 dropbacks. And it's just that those 3 are, you have to make enough out of those 3 to keep things in the game so that your offense can find a way to survive against whatever unholy hell Brian Flores is ready to unleash in this one.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Flores because I want to touch on the Vikings defense here briefly before we then transition to the Bears side of things here. Everyone knows Brian Flores is going to blitz a lot. Why isn't that information enough for offenses to say, okay, we know they're going to blitz a lot, so we'll just have answers for the blitz and then we've got you beat? Like, how does he stay ahead that way?
Flores is so good at dictating the game. This is what has made this defense cool, is that you now have to play offense on the defense's terms. And no offense wants to do that. So a lot of offenses will come in and say, yeah, blitz me all you want. We're not scared. We've got our protections. We've got our hot routes and stuff. We're going to try to do it. And sometimes that falls apart. I think it depends a lot on the makeup of the quarterback. Somebody like Jared Goff or Matt Stafford, great against the blitz, right? Those guys get the ball out quickly, on time, in rhythm, and you can do a 3-step drop, first read, second read, and throw a 15-yard pass. If they can execute that within 3 seconds, which those guys can, Will Levis, Mac Jones can't really do that. But if you can pull that off, you can absolutely find the holes in the coverage that are there, and there will be holes in the coverage. Flores, though, he doesn't always bring it all day. He's come into games and blitzed twice, but simulated a bunch of pressure and made, the who's coming, who isn't game really hard. So if they do feel like they can get home with 4 because there's a problem on the O-line or whatever, like last week, they went up against Nicolas Petit-Frere, right? This terrible right tackle. They could get home all day. So they simmed a lot in the early parts of those games, didn't really bother to blitz. And instead backed off into their kind of Tampa 2 zones, their quarter zones, all the other stuff that they do. So Caleb Williams needs to do 2 things here. He needs to get the ball out quickly when the blitz comes. He needs to find his hot. He needs to do it. And he needs to correctly identify coverages that he doesn't get any information about pre-snap. The whole thesis of this is you don't get to know what this is pre-snap. You have to post-snap ID your coverages, and you have to do it all in a hurry. That's the challenge that they pose. A lot of the quarterbacks they've faced just haven't been up for it.
Well, good thing Caleb Williams will have his 3rd string left guard starting and a couple of tackles that are not going to be 100% due to injuries here. So we'll get into some of the...
None of those guys are the worst guy on the line, right? It's the center.
That's part of the problem here too. I mean, when you bring in the third string left guard, the conversation changes a little bit, but certainly it's been a mess up front for the Bears, and we'll have a lot to get into the mess on and off the field in Chicago as we continue our Crossover Thursday Locked On Bears, Locked On Vikings podcast. This Crossover Thursday edition of Locked On Bears and Locked On Vikings is brought to you by our friends at Bilt Rewards. If you're a renter like I am, you get a little tired of seeing the rent payments come out of your account and you're not really getting more for them than just, a place to live every month. But with our friends at Bilt Rewards, they can help turn that rent game around and start earning some serious rewards just for making your rent payments. Bilt is breaking ground as a neighborhood rewards program that hooks you up with points on your rent payments. So every month you just pay your rent like normal and watch the Bilt points roll in. You can then put those points towards a flight or a hotel stay on a dream vacation. You can use your points to book fitness studio classes or even redeem them towards a future rent payment. The points are designed to meet your lifestyle. So start earning points just for paying rent right now when you go to joinbilt.com/lockedonnfl. That's JOIN, join Bilt, BILT.com/lockedonnfl. Make sure to use our URL so they know we sent you. joinbilt.com/lockedonnfl to start earning points with your rent payments today. Locked On Crossover Thursday podcast is also brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 sportsbook. And right now, FanDuel wants to jumpstart your winnings by giving you $150 in bonus bets with your first winning $5 bet. So you want to place a $5 bet on, say, this Bears-Vikings game, where the Vikings are 3.5-point favorites on the road. The money line is Vikings -184 straight up, or Bears +154 if you want the straight up upset. And the over-under is expecting a lower scoring 39.5-point total. A winning $5 bet on any of those or any of your other favorite sports on FanDuel, and they're going to give you $150 in bonus bets on top of the winnings for that $5 bet. Or maybe in the middle of the game, you get a hunch and you want to place a bet. You can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more, all on the same place where you place your bets just by visiting FanDuel.com and joining today. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Continuing our Crossover Thursday, Locked On Bears, Locked On Vikings podcast, Lorin Cox here with Luke Braun. Luke, it's been a messy time.
Tell me a story.
I'll
tell you, like, Vikings fans, I know I speak for you. We want to hear about this drama. So, okay, here are my main questions. So what's going on with Eberflus? What is his status in the building? Has he lost the locker room? All that stuff. Why do players keep just like going to the media and refuting him? It happened again. Cairo Santos was like, yeah, I wish I was on the other hash, actually. Like, just completely, like, why does he keep lying? Is he lying and the players just aren't watching his press conferences so they don't know? Is there a mutiny on the way? What is going on?
Yeah, so starting point here, right? Bears fired their offensive coordinator a couple weeks ago, Shane Waldron.
Yeah, very much makes sense.
But in that process, essentially, Matt Eberflus reportedly said he wanted to just take away play calling duties and move Shane Waldron upstairs, but keep him in the building. And players expressed like, hey, we'd really like to have a different offensive coordinator altogether. And he goes, all right, fine, I'll fire my offensive coordinator. But the plan, Eberflus's initial plan, was not fire Shane Waldron. He was kind of pushed into it. And it's continued this theme of like, he has an idea and then players have a different idea. And eventually he kind of just has to succumb to what they want. I mean, it even happened in the Packers game last week the Bears played, where the Bears had a 4th down, and you can hear on the broadcast, you could see Caleb yelling to the sideline, no, we're going for it. We're going for it on this 4th down. Like, Eberflus wanted to punt in that situation.
Okay, that is like cool though. Like there's that moment is like Anthony Richardson had that one last year and everyone was like, look how awesome this dude is. Or Stroud or whoever it was. It was one of the rookies.
One overall pick quarterback to have that confidence, right? And to be able to say,
yeah,
this is my team. But what does that leave your head coach? I mean, it's just not a stable structure right now. It's every single week somebody comes out and says something that contradicts something he said, not necessarily because they're trying to fight back at their coach, but it's just like, no, actually, we would have kind of wish we would have defended that Hail Mary differently, or we should have called a timeout there, or, we wish we would have kicked from the other hash. And it's like, there's obviously a huge disconnect here, but I wouldn't say the locker room is totally lost just yet, but it feels like it's pretty close.
So, okay, we talked a little before the show about that. Is he not going to get fired at the end of the year? Because it feels like with that kind of disconnect and a season that is, in total spiral, two of these horrible gut punches in the last 3 games. And then the worst one was the other one. Does that not get a man fired?
It should. And like betting odds would say like, yeah, he probably will, but I don't think there's this consensus that he's for sure doomed just yet. Like we still have to see them really burn out the rest of this year.
Fair. And they could pull it together and rattle off 5 straight and then you feel really different. Yeah. I feel you.
They're going to do that. But the bigger issue here is that Ryan Poles is extremely loyal to his people. And he has hitched himself to the Matt Eberflus wagon and said, this is my coach. I believe in him and I'm going to ride this out with him as long as I can. So I think Ryan Poles is going to give Matt Eberflus every opportunity to save his job. And if they could, beat the Vikings in this game and maybe get a couple of the wins, like they don't necessarily have to make the playoffs, but they have to show some real promise at the end of the season. Like, oh, hey, they did figure some things out by the end of the year. And this offensive coordinator change actually did fix the offense and the defense is still playing well. So now they're right on track. So you can bring Matt Eberflus back. And then next year is going to be the year where everything goes fine. Like we could already sort of hear them selling it to us the way they did last offseason when they didn't fire Matt Eberflus.
So Caleb Williams, obviously, the Vikings and Bears, Vikings have to wait on their rookie. He gets hurt. So we got to kind of wait on that for a year. But we're not waiting on Caleb Williams. We're seeing this. This has not been nearly what was promised, right? He was promised to come in and immediately be Mahomes. That has not happened. Lo and behold, we have to wait for a rookie to develop. If only someone were talking about that. I think both of us were. But give me the honest answer. How are we feeling about this? I mean, is it still just kind of too early to tell? Can't hold too much against him. Too many things are broken. Or is there any legitimate, like, to the foundation concern about Caleb Williams's game? And I guess the other question is, or was it all Shane Waldron and Thomas Brown came in and things are different and we feel way better?
Yeah, I think the legitimate concerns haven't necessarily been Caleb Williams as the prospect and the talent. Like, it's not as though like Caleb Williams came in this season or at any point this season, it's like, oh no, this player, this talent is different than we thought he might be coming out. But I think the real concern is like, oh no, this ecosystem in Chicago is helping him develop bad habits, and we might be ruining this quarterback in some permanent ways or ways that are going to be hard to undo if things keep going in the direction they were. Now, the firing of Shane Waldron and the promotion of Thomas Brown, one game sample size against the Green Bay Packers felt like a real sigh of relief of like, okay, they got back to like an offensive game plan that makes a little bit more sense. They're tying concepts to his footwork. There was a report
which scored 19 points though. Like, are we really that happy about that one?
They're happy about it because they had the ball within the fourth quarter and Caleb Williams drove them down for a game-winning field goal attempt.
Okay, so it's that drive felt good. But it felt like the rest of the game, like, I mean, we're not blowing the doors off anybody here.
It wasn't blowing the doors off it, but it was like back in the right positive direction here, right? Like he was more decisive. It was the quickest he had gotten rid of the ball all season. He was opening up the offense downfield a little bit more. Like it was back to like the trajectory where it wasn't like, oh, problem solved, but we're just heading back in the right direction instead of the negative direction. But like great example for you. A friend of the podcast network, really friend of the show, Matt Waldman, has reported that he talked to some people around the organization that Shane Waldron didn't have designated number of steps on dropbacks for all their passing plays. He kind of told Caleb, take as many steps as you need and then step into the throw. Like it wasn't this is a 5-step concept. This is a 7-step concept. It's like,
that's crazy. Like it's in the McVay playbooks, which Waldron is from. It's categorized. Like here are your 5-step plays. Here are your 3-step plays. And you call those with those timings. And O-line needs to know that too, because O-line will like choose a jump set on a 3-step drop. And like they'll totally approach it different if it's a 7. Not having that together is buck wild. That is insane
for a rookie quarterback. You know what I mean? Like so, like
that's that's unbelievable. I can't believe that. What?
That's the kind of thing we've been dealing with here, where it's like we're gonna take some of the heat off Caleb Williams. Then, like so now they've gotten to like more play action, moving the pockets, like all the stuff that you would think they would have thought to do right away for a rookie quarterback. Hey, some more pre-snap motion, like. give him the tools of the toolbox. Instead of just the original plan was throw everything at him and say, you're calling audibles at the line of scrimmage, you're changing protections. You've got everything. Go do it, Caleb. And it's like, hey, maybe bringing him a little bit slower is the solution.
I do get that because it was, I mean, I know we should go to the predictions soon, but like, I get that because at USC, he did it. Like, he did do that. He called the protections. He dialed things up at the line of scrimmage. I remember looking at that and being like, oh, I like that. Like, good for you. You got a college quarterback that's actually got control of all the levers on the offense. So I kind of get that. But the thing he's pulling the levers for has to make sense. What the heck?
Yeah, that's that. And Shane Waldron was using the widest splits of any of the McVay guys. Like, he was putting the receiver super far out wide and then trying to throw screens to that. And there just wasn't good spacing. He got away completely from the Sean McVay staples. And that's
not the condensed and then like run outs and stuff. That's what O'Connell loves to do. Yeah.
And that's what Thomas Brown, also a Sean McVay guy, has gotten back to now in one game sample size, more McVay stuff. So there's a
very close friend of Kevin O'Connell's, by the way. O'Connell tried to get him for his initial staff, and McVay blocked it.
But nonetheless, like, he was also the offensive coordinator for a terrible Panthers offense last year. So it's not like we're pretending Thomas Brown is the genius that is going to fix this Bears offense all season. Like, there's a big fear in Chicago that the Brian Flores defense is going to disrupt all of that, and that this offense is going to get back to looking terrible. So that's going to be a big part of the keys to victory and shaping the outcome of this game that we'll get to coming up next on our crossover Thursday Locked On Bears, Locked On Vikings podcast. This crossover Thursday podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. BetterHelp is here to provide online therapy to help you be your best self. Especially this time of year, it's all about gratitude and thanking the people in our lives that are most important, and also taking some time to thank ourselves. Like, sometimes we don't remind ourselves that, like, we're trying our best to make sense of everything. And in this world, it's not easy. So send some thanks to the people that you appreciate, and also make some time to appreciate yourself. And I think therapy is a great way to help get the gratitude going a little bit here. If you've been thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, and it's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Let that gratitude flow with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/lockedon to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon for 10% off. Continuing our crossover Thursday, Locked On Bears, Locked On Vikings podcast. I'm Lorin Cox from Locked On Bears, alongside Luke Braun from Locked On Vikings. And as always, our crossover Thursdays are presented by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app and use our promo code LOCKEDONNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. Luke, for me, this game for Chicago comes down completely to, like, will they have a plan that works for what Brian Flores is going to throw at Caleb Wood? Like,
okay, we can figure this out. So what do the Bears do? Like, what is their preferred option when a team shows blitz? What do they want to do? Do they check into a different play? Is it a hot route? Like, what do they want to try to do?
Well, for the first, 8 games of the season, it was have everyone run deep routes and hope that Caleb Williams can hold on to the ball long enough to get rid of it.
So it's scramble. Like, that is an option that some teams do. Like, that's perfectly valid on paper.
Yes, but last week against the Packers, it was much more, get something going, like a pre-snap motion into a play where a receiver can run a quick route and get that sort of head start on the motion there. It's have a running back just sort of chip and release, so you've got an option to get to there, or a receiver on a quick route to something to the outside. They didn't hit the middle of the field that much, but it's like, give Caleb a quick 3-step concept towards the sideline to get rid of the ball and not let the pressure get up in his face.
Interesting. So that reminds me of Monday Night Football last year, that the Vikings, the Vikings, Josh Dobbs threw 4 interceptions and ended up benched the next week. Where that's one of the funniest, like, next gen stats passing charts of all time, because it was 22. I remember 22 like perimeter screens or throws behind the line of scrimmage. It was all they did. So I wonder if you're going to see something similar, where the Vikings probably really want you to do that. Brian Flores loves it if your offense becomes like check down merchants. And if everything is just going to be, little shots to the flat, they have a better tool against that. I think shots to the flat last year, like late last year, were a little too good against them. They cover it a little differently now, where they have corners playing a little bit further upfield. so that they can, tackle those down a little bit better. So if you're going to like motion stuff out and get, a lot of little quick flippies, we're going to have a 2.7 depth of target and, a completion percentage of 80 and a whole bunch of 3-and-outs. Like that's probably the Vikings vision for this. And whether they actually send those blitzes or not, if they can just show it and force you into those ideas and force Caleb to like really be looking at that check down really hard, they'll be perfectly happy with that, whether they back out or not.
See, and even that represented progress for this Bears offense. Like just getting to the check down and getting to the quick release play was like, oh, great. So it's a 3-and-out, but at least it was 3rd and 2 instead of 3rd and 10 this time. Like that's
and so we just don't want it anymore with Caleb Williams. We don't want him to like, oh, blitzer, let's evade and go make something. Like we don't want those scramble drills. Like I know DJ Moore on the scramble drill has been like a thing, but like, is that we just don't want that anymore? We want like, please just like be a pocket quarterback.
They only want that as a last resort, right? And too often that's had to be sort of the only resort because the pressure gets there before anyone's open, or the pressure disrupts the timing of that first read, and then it's scramble drill stuff, and then you got players kind of freelancing a little bit too much, and they're not on the same page there. So like against Green Bay, Caleb was much more inclined to just take off when he escaped. They weren't having to like hang behind the line of scrimmage and wait for something to get open and then just kind of throw it away. It was just like, screw it. If you're under pressure, go. Just run, just go, just take off, get the 7 yards that you can scramble, and don't worry about making the backyard football hero throw just yet. Like one step at a time.
Gotcha. So I think here's what this one comes down to then for me, because that will compress the Bears offense a lot. I bet that the offense compresses a lot here, as they just are going to walk in expecting a million blitzes, and they're going to come in with a super like quick hitter, outside shots, kind of lots of perimeter screens kind of game plan.
Totally.
So how they find their shots, I think, will determine what happens here. And we haven't even begun to talk about the other side of the ball, because I know the Bears defense is good, and how the Vikings will move the ball on that is also going to be interesting. But like, for me, the way it comes down to is like, if I'm the Bears, I would honestly say, how about we just block with 8 and see if we can't find something downfield? Like, why are we working this hard? Let's just like 7, 8 in protection, blitz all you want. We have everybody, and we're going to find a hole over the middle because you only have 5 guys in coverage, and like play it that way. But if they don't do that, like if they can find a way, whatever it is, if they can find a way to keep it downfield, to get those shot plays and not just turn into the Oregon Ducks, then like I think that's the best chance the Bears have.
The problem is when you're leaving guys to block with 8, like you still need your 3rd string left guard who's starting in this game to hold up.
Yeah.
If he's gonna have a one-on-one block there, like you're still counting on,
especially on 3rd down,
give you 3 seconds there, and that works sometimes, but not all the time, and that's going to be the real challenge.
Well, outside of stunts, they don't really rush the interior. Like Jonathan Bullard is a run player. Harrison Phillips is a run player. Like Jerry Tillery is probably their best interior pass rusher, and he's Jerry freaking Tillery. Like they don't really do it. And the way that they get you on the inside and beat the guard is by either stunting, so somebody like Andrew Van Ginkel, who's having a ridiculous season, or Jonathan Grenard, who's very good, will loop inside, and then he gets to go against the guard or the center. Or if it's 3rd down, they bring out all edge rushers, and you have, Patrick Jones in there, or Jihad Ward, or the Dallas Turner, the youngster in there, who, well, they don't actually have him rush inside a lot. He'll go inside and then they'll bump Jonathan Grenard inside and like get that matchup that way. But that only happens on 3rd down. So if your tackles can hold up, then the Vikings are going to have to do creative stuff. And a lot of times what it is it's going to be, can that guard beat Ivan Pace? Or is Ivan Pace going to like duck, dip, dive, and dodge and, flash his way in? And then I know DeAndre Swift is not practicing today. So who's going to be at running back, and how is he in pass protection is also like really important.
And Roshan Johnson's their preferred pass protecting back anyway. And he's
so they work in their favor kind of
there. So
he's a better running back than DeAndre Swift. I'm sorry. That's sorry, Bears fans. That's the truth. I hate DeAndre Swift. I think he's been really bad this year.
And I think the same thing about Khalil Herbert, who they just traded to the Cincinnati Bengals, but that's a separate conversation. Real quick before we wrap up on the Bears defense versus the Vikings offense side.
Yes.
I would say been more and more cracks in Matt Eberflus's defense the last couple of weeks. Run defense has been bad pretty much all year. So it bodes well for Aaron Jones getting some things going, but the pass rush has slowed down the last few weeks as well. Montez Sweat hasn't been making the big impact plays, and they haven't had their other young guys. Like for a while, one of the young guys was kind of stepping up. Like 1 week it'd be Javon Dexter, 1 week it'd be Austin Booker. Like they kind of took turns stepping up, and it's been a little bit of a drought of like somebody needs to make some plays up front. And then when the quarterbacks have had a lot of time to throw, then it's a little bit too easy for them to get things rolling downfield. So I'm curious if they tighten up a little bit in this game, or if they keep slowly breaking apart more and more. By the way, with a third string safety looking to start next to Kevin Byard as well.
Interesting. So the Vikings really want long pockets. Like they want to hold the ball forever. Sam Darnold just likes to, but also the concepts that they run, especially the downfield shots, are like long developing. They're 7-step drop play action. Like they love a long pocket. So if all the defensive line needs is time, they will have the time to work with. And the Vikings will have to like block that up with Cam Robinson, and they actually benched Ed Ingram last week. They got Dalton Reisner in now at right guard. So it's a line that is not without problems, but has still been pretty solid.
Yeah, I think I think what it comes down to is then just, how devastating are the turnover opportunities? Do the Bears take advantage of it if Sam Darnold puts in harm's way? And if they do, is it a turnover in the end zone where the Bears offense still has to go 80 yards, so it doesn't really spring the offense, or is there a big return that sparks the Bears offense and makes their drive easier? Like the level of devastation of a turnover in either direction, I think, can go a long way towards swinging this in one spot or another. But safe to assume, Luke, you're feeling pretty good about a Vikings victory on Sunday.
Never in Soldier Field. I know better. It's a divisional game on the road that is always tough. I don't care what horrible spot the Bears are in. It's going to be a tough game. I think the spread is probably appropriate, where they're favored on the road, but only by a little, but only by 3.5, right? Like I would even maybe say 2.5 is more appropriate, to give that hook point back because of that turnover thing. Like there's absolutely the world where Sam Darnold's brain falls out. He throws 3 turnovers and they're down 21-0 in the first quarter.
The Vikings have won 4 in a row at Soldier Field. I think it'll be closer than the record.
Yeah, but they always play bad. Like the Justin Fields of it all notwithstanding. Okay. Like that's not, it's always tough to go on the division and win. You never take those for granted. I don't care how bad a team is. It's always tough.
Totally. I tend to agree. Like, I don't think this is going to be like a Vikings blowout that the way you think an 8-2 team versus a 4-7 team should go. But I do think the Vikings win one that's closer than Minnesota would like it to be, but maybe you're never quite super scared. Like, oh no, oh gosh, they're really going to beat us. It's like more like, oh man, they're keeping it closer than we like it to be for 4 quarters, but you'll finish out on top.
I think the big question too is, can the Bears pull out of the funk emotionally? Like the Hail Mary hurts, the Patriots game hurts, now this blocked kick hurt. Like every single thing has been such a gut punch. So if there is a swing of momentum where the Bears suddenly start believing again, I think a bunch of the things that happened in the last 3 games evaporate, because suddenly now you're playing with your hair on fire, and that's what you need to do.
There was a quote from Cole Kmet this week on his podcast where he said, he was talking to TJ Edwards, a linebacker. He's like, man, we both grew up watching this Bears team struggle. And like, now we're living it, man. Like we're living what we watched growing up, and it sucks. So that's the state of being a Chicago Bears fan right now.
A tumultuous season.
Well, certainly we'll be here on the Locked On Bears and Locked On Vikings podcasts to break down everything that happens in this matchup. So keep making Locked On Bears or Locked On Vikings your first listen each and every day. Coming back for tomorrow's Friday podcast as we wrap up your week. Getting ready for the matchup. We'll break the games down on Monday, and then we'll talk again in what feels like just a couple weeks for the second Bears Vikings matchup coming up here. So for Luke Braun from Locked On Vikings, I'm Lorin Cox from Locked On Bears, and we will talk to you again tomorrow.